ways to really make things uncomfortable for BLG.
All right, let's hop into Champ Select, powered by Omen and HyperX here for the first time today. It's BLG on the blue side, VKS on the red. BLG going to go ahead, ban out the Wukong, the Aurora, and the Scion, while on the VKS side, it's that very typical Yunara and Orianna bans that we very often see first round.
Azir also going to be left open.
Yep.
Historically against Knight, not one of his preferred champions. But with the Rise open anyway, it could be something that BLG, I stand corrected, with the Neeko open, this is something that On often tends toward. It gives them a lot of agency on the bot side of the map and also gives a direction. Things like Caitlyn immediately rise in priority as a powerhouse bot lane pick to pair alongside it. Potentially something like the Xayah as well that we've seen come through from Elk so far at this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've also seen things like Neeko, Corki. You know, the question to me is, will VKS try to go for a dominant bot lane of their own? You can do things like try to take away the Caitlyn, try to play like Caitlyn Karma and some of these more aggressive lanes. Azir feels like a bit of a no-brainer when that is left up. Yeah. But I want to see them play for priority lanes. I don't think you can play a slow game to try to play like fully slow and just scale it up. It's not going to be a recipe for success, and especially when you're here on the red side as VKS, I want to see them prioritizing both top lane counterpick and support counterpick, try to get winning 2v2, try to get winning top lane, and see if that can give you a way in.
Right now, VKS is
There's the
considering...
karma I was talking about.
Yeah, looking to match a bit of range on the bot side of the map. That means engage has to come from somewhere else, with Wukong taken out of the picture. Things like Xin Zhao. Oh, never mind. BLG are not going to waste any time. They're going to go for the Trundle Ziggs first rotation, assuming this Ziggs is actually in the mid lane as a response to the Azir, something that we've seen from Knight so far this year. It's kind of his answer into that Azir pick.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. Obviously, is a flex, could go bot as well, but definitely does feel like for now it is going to be that answer. And the question is now, do you actually match jungle picks here, or do you let that fall? They are going to go for the Qiyana, so going to be needing some hard engage here that is kind of lacking right now, and I'm a little bit concerned with, you know, some of those kind of like prime top lane tanks being much less valuable when the Trundle is there, and you haven't got engaged from jungle, you haven't got engaged from support. You could draft an engage AD carry, but those, like, we haven't seen Ashe at all in the meta, so already a little bit concerned how VKS are going to be looking to start fights.
And we know that Trundle can be very effective at neutralizing a lot of other fighter type of junglers, like Xin Zhao is immediately one that comes to mind that Trundle is adept against, but Qiyana can actually dance circles around him, going invisible, bursting him very quickly. It's hard for Trundle to maximize his dueling power against this champion. So at least in the jungle matchup, what VKS has here for Disamis, but I agree, the engage opportunities are going to need to be buffed up if VKS want to find chances to make this game bloody and make it chaotic. They will go ahead and ban out that Caitlyn pairing that you guys were talking about as a potential partner for the Neeko, and it's Renekton, banned out by BLG.
Seems VKS has the same read and expecting this Ziggs to go mid lane. As you said, Azael, there's always the possibility of it going bot, but for the time being, VKS want to limit that bot lane pool. Meanwhile, BLG, I think it was a good read on the Trundle early priority, making it much harder for you to get that engagement on the top side of the map. Also removing the Renekton, kind of giving that safe top side of the map as well. Things like Cassante, definitely still an option, but like, where do you find that easy way to start these fights? Varus and Ashe are the two AD carries that come to mind that provide a little bit more utility. I can also pair nicely with the Karma.
Yeah, I mean, to me though, like, Varus is so underwhelming as a primary engage. You can obviously go something like Ornn if you want to have that engage, but it is just a weaker pick because Trundle's in the game, right? Like, you're both buffing up the Trundle and you're making yourselves weaker. I would not like Cassante at all, just simply because it's not going to bring anything as far as the engage, and really, I don't think it's nearly as strong as it has been in the past. This pick does not feel like it scales very well, and it is going to be double blind soul laners on red side. And
that's a little crazy. And,
you know, like, the only response basically they've gotten has been this Karma. Is the only response pick they've really been able to get. They are going to be able to save their bot lane pick for last year, but either you have to have something super spicy in bot lane for this to make sense, or they were worried that Bin would just take the Ambessa away. But again, it now feels like it's kind of, you know, this a little bit split in what the comp wants to do, because you have Karma, which is more usually kind of like kite back and absorb the engage. You have Qiyana and Ambessa, which is like full dive and fully send it in. So I'm kind of a little bit unsure, what pick could actually bring it all together.
This Jax pick for BLG, it's easy to discredit the situation they're in because of their performance throughout the year, but this was a super famous pick for Bin. It was something that at international competition, you just couldn't afford to give him because of how dominant he would be on the pick. So now, picking it into Boal on the top side of the map, things are already looking very scary from the perspective of VKS with the fact that BLG have so much comfort on their side.
And so the final pick of the draft here on Red 5 is just that Varus that we were talking about already. And I'm not going to lie to you, Isaac, if we're talking about spices, Varus feels pretty vanilla.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, so you blinded your top. You gave Ben counterpick on blue side. You give double soling counterpick to BLG on blue side. The Varus does give you a little bit of that engage of chain interruption to potentially start off a fight. Of course, Azir could try to fly in and start off a fight. But I am really scared for how Morttheus is going to be able to actually survive in these fights. When I'm looking over at Jax, at Neeko, at Trundle, you just pillar this guy in, hop on his head, throw in the Ziggs ult, and it's kind of lights out. So I do think it's going to be really difficult for Morttheus to survive. We'll see how they can manage the 2v2. Karma Varus, especially if you're going poke Varus, which is what I'm expecting here, can be a relatively strong lane. But we'll see if they can create a meaningful advantage down.
I think the one thing VKS's comp has is range, because on the other side, it's not like BLG have the strongest engage tools. Like, you're looking at Flash Neeko definitely as a big threat. You're looking at a potential Jax flank, and I'm thinking, okay, Kaisa ideally wants to dive in. Ziggs, you've got a decent amount of range, but Trundle, Jax against an Azir, depending on how they approach the fight, can be an avenue in which VKS try and leverage their range, play it slow, look to try and poke out their opposition before then looking for a favorable fight. But that requires a lot of patience and good execution around these neutral objectives. And this is for a team that just is very known for diving in and looking for fights.
And I mean, I hear you, but at the same time, also on the other side, it's like you have Ziggs poke, and if Kaisa goes hybrid, you can go in towards AP, and you just Trundle, pillar, and poke, right? Like, you don't really have to, I think, fully commit to an engage. Because Bin on this Jax, I think, is also going to outscale in the side lane. So we'll have to see what VKS can do. But when you're talking slow, steady macro game to be able to win it out for VKS, I'm already not feeling that confident.
All right, so here's a couple of numbers for you guys as we're waiting on the minions to spawn here at the beginning of the game. Bin is 67-29 on Jax in his career. That is more than a 2/3 win rate in pro play. On is 16-4 on Neeko, so 80% of his games are wins. And this is Disamis' first ever pro Qiyana game in his career. So the numbers certainly seem to be in favor of BLG.
You're telling me he's never lost. And Jax,
correct.
Bin has lost 29 games on Jax. Disamis has never lost a game on Qiyana. And you're trying to convince me that the Jax is favored? Come on, buddy.
I got more numbers for you.
Learn some statistics.
I got even some more.
Flowers.
Listen, I got some fun statistics for you as well, because we talked about violence is what we need to be seeing from VKS. And so I asked the stats team to get me some numbers from their series against PSG. The average combined kills per minute from the series was 1.12. So they're getting a kill and a bit every minute, right? You then look at the average combined kills at 14. There was 10 Flowers at 14. And that was the average on throughout the series. This is a team that loves to fight. They loves to get aggressive. And we'll see if that's the approach they take, given the composition they've drafted for themselves.
Well, and we have to see how Bin's going to survive actually in this 2v2, because they have decided to send Elk up towards the top side, feeling that, against this range, it could be difficult. And so Elk is going to have a nice lane here against Boal, but you're going to have Bin on this Jax up against Varus Karma. Like, that sounds miserable. We'll see how much of this farm he can even get under his tower, but right now, it's looking like he's playing for XP.
Okay, Ben finds a nice little stun there as Trymbi trying to work with Morttheus to get this wave shoved in. And you can see here on your screen right now, BLG's opponents so far at Worlds 25, a lot of fans have been very critical of this team, not just for ending up in the 1-2 bracket, but for ending up in the 1-2 bracket having only played Western teams. It's definitely a weaker performance than a lot of fans were hoping for.
I mean, I think that's putting it really mildly. This is the #1 LPL team. You played 4 Western teams, and you're not out of groups yet? It's like, right?
Tough.
The expectation is that you would 3-0 that schedule, right?
Yeah.
And here they are, playing for their lives in the 1 and 2 match. So definitely have not lived up to expectation whatsoever. And a lot of pressure is on them as a result. But Shadow here looking to see if he can find an angle onto Mireu.
Okay, let's see what the Trundle can get here. You would hope for at least a flash, and there it is. Pillar, however, going to still knock him back a little bit, but because Mireu has the shifting sands, he can get away to the safety underneath the turret. But Summoner Spell blown, that's just telling me there needs to be a return visit here in the mid lane in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, a little antsy there, I feel like, from Mireu to flash that early. Yes, you know, there is potential of a pillar or a Sapphire charge or something, you know, kind of interrupting you, but I feel like he probably could have just tried to WQE, and then if you get an interruptive flash after, but either way now Shadow staying active and looking for Boal.
Yeah, Shadow wants to at least get another Summoner Spell up here, takes a chomp out of Boal, immediately taking a lot of turret aggro. Shadow with a late flash, what in the hell is going on? BLG just gift wrapped it! Boal gets a double kill!
That was one of the worst tower dives I think I've ever seen.
I agree.
They just walk underneath the tower. The Trundle takes the aggro. He flashes like way too late. BLG completely fumbled the execution.
They didn't even get his flash. You didn't even force his flash. This is crazy. Shadow's not even hitting him at all. And then he flashes out with the last tower shot in the air. Elk loses both summoners. You didn't even get Boal's flash. And he gave him a double.
That was an absolutely abysmal tower dive from Shadow and Elk. That was just everything that VKS would have wanted. Boal's Ambessa, remember they swapped to make the lane tougher on this Ambessa. The Kaisa range supposed to harass him in the lane, put him in a spot where you can make that dive. Then you make the dive and give him 2 kills for free? You gotta be kidding me.
I mean, that's crazy. You know, you see something like that and you're like, maybe.
Well, I mean,
maybe.
The thing as well is, so you were talking a little bit about that early flash from Mireu in the mid lane, and you have to think that when you see those nameplates across from you, you're super focused, but you're also a little antsy. You want to flash early to be that defensive, but getting a play like that off has to fill you with nothing but confidence. Now you find yourself 5 minutes in with an early gold lead, and you're just kind of like, all right, guys, even though the odds are stacked against us, maybe this is what we need to get ahead in this game.
And look at the top lane buy, right? Bin comes up there with cloth armor boots. You've got a pickaxe longsword on top. So Boal even has that blue buff, so a little bit more energy
6
regen
as well.
And yeah, I want to see what kind of an advantage he can build here against Bin.
And you said it, Vedius, the EXP, not just the gold. The extra experience you get from the 2 champion kills has Boal feeling very comfortable. Bin is only 2/3 of the way to level 6. Boal's about the same distance from level 7. He's an entire level up now because of that botched dive. And we'll see if Shadow can try to get something back now. He is hovering around the area. Bin's going to jump in, finds Counter-Strike, pillar right on top of it. Boal trying to skip his way out of here a little bit. Does not get a whole lot there with a public execution. But again, he doesn't even have to flash, and Boal gets away with 2/3 HP.
Have we started a new minigame as to when Boal will actually flash? Because this man is not going to use that summoner spell as VKS look for a cross map. They're going to zone Elk away from as much farm as they can. They secure a plate as well.
They get the clone out of the Neeko on, trying to buy a little bit of time, but no, it's VKS teaching last year's Worlds runner-up how to do a tower
level up.
Chains of Corruption coming out now. They want a little bit more damage. Morttheus barely hanging on to life, and Disamis as well. A double kill for the Neeko with the minions. And right as I spoke too soon. They dive too far, but it ends up being a 1-for-2. BLG get the better of them. The turret dives in this game are a mess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the redive that they go for. Varus hits 6, hits the Chains of Corruption. So they say, we can make this happen here. But Elk has the killer instinct, has the barrier that is so much shielding to get through when it's on a redive.
The bad news for BLG is both kills went over to On. Ideally, they would have loved a little bit more funneling into Elk, but at the very least, they dissuade the dive, they close the goal gap. Trymbi's taking a lot of damage.
Trymbi trying to get away from all of that burst. The Mega Inferno Bomb only hits him on the edge as opposed to the center, so Trymbi stays alive, but he's got to go back to base.
That is the bad news, but the good news is he knows the recipe for Proto Belt.
That he does. We're going to look back at the dive. And so On plays this about as well as he can, flashes away from the damage as much as he can, try and locks up Trymbi, gets his flash early, then a lot of summoners already used on the side of VKS. The level up comes through, the ulti connects, but Trymbi tanks an extra tower shot, then an additional one along with the minions. The minions finish the job! And it ends up being a double.
I mean, the tower was still heated up, right?
Yeah,
So
it was.
The tower did so much damage there as it turns on them. And he hit the Mantra Q, gets the slow into the Chains of Corruption, but again, Barrier, Killer Instinct, that's a lot of shielding there. And yeah, lucky that it was just on grabbing those kills. Not even an assist going the way of Elk, but he does survive and is able to turn around that dive, and we are pretty much dead even now in the gold. And you can see even Boal, his gold lead has been eroding. He is only up 250 now, down a fair bit of CS. You know, was up last time we checked in at about plus 400 gold.
I just love that earlier I mentioned the average kills throughout the PSG VKS series was 10. And right now we're at 5. And we're only 9 minutes in. We've got
rookie
5 more
numbers.
minutes. Yeah.
Gotta pump those up.
I'm hoping that we get them pumped up right now. I want to see VKS keeping the pressure up, because BLG, they are stumbling. That's what we're seeing. And it's kind of the story of BLG at this tournament. Coming in as the first seed, the level that we were expecting from them is not the level that we're seeing on stage. And I feel like that the pressure might be getting to them, but there's still a lot of the game left to play.
I mean, you gotta remember, 100 Thieves beat BLG. And VKS beat 100 Thieves. So who's the real favorite here, Vedius?
The classic transitive properties, the Western reliable.
Yeah.
All right, so this is actually one of the latest grub takes I feel like we've seen at this tournament, and even throughout this year. Grubs are almost always within the first 30 seconds they spawn. You see at least one of the teams sending their jungler over to at least secure one grub. But because of the chaotic state of this game, it's 9.5 minutes in before the grubs are first taken, and it is VKS securing all 3, as Trymbi's in a bit of a tough spot here. The Pillar's trapping a Mega Inferno Bomb for the slam dunk, and that means Knight's getting paid on this one.
A disrespectful back from Trymbi. He's sitting on top of a ward. They know the ward is there. He thinks he's safe. He doesn't have his flash to get away to safety. He's just secured an objective, and so there's no reason for BLG not to be pathing towards the Dragon to try and cross map. And ultimately, BLG just picked themselves up a free kill.
Yeah, he seemed very slow to react on that play, and maybe caught shopping a little bit there. We have seen that before, but is going to get taken down, and it is a freebie there for Knight, who now completes the Ludens off of that. So he's going to be pretty happy about the result, and BLG pulls ever so slightly into the lead. Bin obviously going very defensive, early tabbies here, just wanting to survive. Makes a lot of sense against Qiyana plus Boal here, who got gifted those early 2 kills. And we want to see Boal trying to push the pace, trying to create some sort of advantage with those 2 kills that he was given. But really, it is, honestly, if you're VKS, you're probably pretty happy with how things have gone. Like, the expectation would be that you would be pretty far behind probably by now for most people.
And I mean, you still got to remember, this is Bin Jax. Vedius, you mentioned it back in draft. Like, this previously was a champion that was just not allowed through draft against BLG because Bin was so proficient on it. 67 and 29 career record on this champion. Even if you do start out with the 2-kill lead, Bin's perfectly comfortable laning into this Ambessa, it appears. Disamis hanging around the area, looking maybe for an opportunity if Bin continues trying to shove this forward, but he's not going to find that opportunity, so instead just goes back to farming up. Because both of those neutral objectives were delayed for so long, both of their timers are still pretty much synced up for the next Drake and the next Herald spawning, but they're still both 3.5 minutes away. So right now, I'm just kind of looking for some creativity, particularly from VKS, to make something happen in the meantime.
I think the priority for the both sides is to, well, finish off some of these main key items. We can see it coming through from junglers on both sides. The mid lane is having now finished their first item. Boal now picking up as well his first major item. Like, VKS wanting to try and play around these spikes. The next major objective is not going to be for a while as Shadow sets his sights on the mid lane. Not going to result in too much though. But yeah, both teams, without really anything significant to play for, it's a lot of fishing. It's a lot of maybe playing for plates, maybe looking for a pick. And so I expect both teams to be kind of very respectful of one another. As I say that.
Yeah, on goes in for the Pop Blossom, and once again, it's going to be Trymbi just deleted off the Rift. He tries to flash over the wall, but the follow-up damage after the Neeko ulti guarantees he drops, and BLG going to pull a little further ahead.
BLG might make mistakes, but they're still a very fast team. If you're going to make a mistake, they are quick to punish you for it. On with a really nice ultimate. Elk quickly to follow up with the ultimate of his own, results in another kill onto Trymbi. 0-3 the scoreline now for the VKS support.
Yeah, and it's insult to injury. You lose both your summoners there. It's just so easy to pick champions without a dash when you're playing with, you know, Trundle and Jax and Neeko and all these champs. Trundle just throws down the pillar, you're slowed. It's so easy to hit the root to follow that up and to be able to find these engages. So Trymbi going to be really having to be careful in these next couple minutes. Has died a couple times already and has got to be clean They're not giving over too much free gold to BLG.
I mean, yeah, the largest individual goal difference in the game is currently in the support role, with On grabbing those first couple of kills from the botched redive in the bottom lane, with Trymbi being dead 3 separate times now. 1.5 minutes until the Herald spawns. I would have to expect that this is going to result in a larger team fight, as both sides want to try to fight for it, but Disamis not going to get caught by the pillar there, as again, it's BLG looking to push slightly past neutral territory here in the river, control more of the rift, just try to make VKS a little bit more nervous, make them a little bit more antsy as to where BLG might be and what they might be doing.
Yeah, and I'm liking how BLG is really utilizing On and Shadow to just kind of control the river, right? They've maintained their vision in that area, and I'm kind of wondering how VKS even wants to try to play it out, to try to approach some of these dragons, because how do you walk in if you don't have vision against that Trundle without just someone getting pillared in and poked down or just taken out straight up? I think is going to be a challenge for them. Boal has not really been able to extend this lead. You know, he is up a decent amount of gold, did get a plate, that is nice, but Bin in Shadow here.
Yeah, Bin's immediately going to drop the ulti as Shadow runs through the frozen domain, throws the pillar down. Public execution from Boal, trying to play this defensively, but now with the redemption coming in, VKS, they turn it around as Disamis shows up. Shadow is forced to flash away as the supreme display of talent would have slammed him back into the wall and potentially set up a second kill. Nicely played by Boal to survive long enough for Disamis to show up and set up the kill.
Yeah, that was really good for Boal, and he's able to extend that advantage, not through a play of his own, but through that outplay, the response to the gank that does come in. He's able to kite it down towards the redemption here that comes in from Trymbi, and Disamis arrives, gets a kill, and they get the flash off of Shadow, which is going to make this next potential dragon much more of a possibility for them now.
I feel like the story of this game for BLG needs to be to play through their bot side. So far, we've been seeing On and
no matter who is on the top side.
It's just it's been really working when they do play through this bot lane, but every time they try to force something on the top side of the map, things just haven't been going their way. Right now, though, they do have position. They know that Disamis has just used the ultimate. They know that as well, Boal doesn't really have much left to continue the fight, so they turn their attention on. And again, they brought their bot lane up, and this is a nice sign from the side of BLG as they now want to try and get Elk and On invested in a dive.
Yep, they're summoning up the Herald here immediately. Boal trying to get away. The Pop Blossom catches it. Mega Inferno Bomb from downtown means Knight's the one taking the kill credit, and Mireu and Trymbi have no choice but a full retreat. The Herald's going to be driven into the tier 2, but immediately On's going to be shuffled back towards it. Has to flash away in response. Herald then going to secure the first turret, put major damage into the tier 2, an extra kill onto Boal here for BLG, and this sequence of events leads to a 1,500 gold lead.
Yeah, that is big for BLG, especially because Disamis, he was over by the Dragon. He could have just done Dragon and at least made it a trade. Instead, he runs all the way across the map without flash, without ulti to try to answer, to try to defend this play. And that is kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about some of these deficiencies as far as macro play. You can try to trade, you can try to get things elsewhere. It doesn't always have to be trying to look for that fight. They will eventually be able to get down here and look for a dragon, but just kind of spending a lot of time there, Disamis, to not really get involved in anything.
All right, Mountain Drake at least does go the way of VKS, even if it is on a slower timer than you would hope for. And interestingly enough, we now have Feat of First Turret going over to BLG, Feat of Warfare going over to VKS, 2 and 2 on the Feat of Monster Slaying. So the next neutral objective will also determine the boots, as Mireu has to use the Shifting Sands to get away from BLG, who are overloading this top side. Mega Inferno Bomb, only the edge clips Mireu, so he still survives. But the tier 2 cannot tell the same tale as that one drops, and BLG are up almost 2,500 gold.
On is working very well with Shadow to just keep pressure up on the map. You can see why he's so proficient at this Neeko, landing so many skill shots, putting a lot of threat down, and VKS is quickly losing control of the game. They were finding some nice skirmishes, they were finding some cool opportunities, but now that the map is opening up a lot more, this is where BLG has the clear advantage. This is why we talked earlier about how I want to see VKS try and force fights often, because you can then take the wider scale map focus of it and you can turn it fight objective. But when BLG just kind of get to play the macro game, they are running the Rift. And right now, with a 2-tower advantage on top, with no clear cross map for VKS being equal in Dragons, BLG is in an extremely comfortable spot.
Yeah, they're in a great spot, absolutely. And VKS, even if they want to try to force fights, they just don't have a lot of great tools to start them. And that is going to make it so difficult for them here. And we're seeing On and Shadow just kind of running circles around Disamis and Trymbi right now. You know, they are constantly in their opponent's face, taking vision, taking space, putting on pressure, stealing away camps. And Disamis hasn't been that active and isn't even up in farm as a result, so looking good.
Oh, Pop Blossom forces the flash out of Morttheus, but On will pay the price. VKS get a kill back. They tie it up 5-5, bring that gold lead back under 2K. But what about the follow-up? Trymbi's got to be a little careful here, but BLG won't find any more.
You know, honestly, I don't even think it's a bad trade for the side of BLG because there's nothing for VKS to get off of that. You do give over a couple hundred gold, but you got the flash off of Morttheus. And it is going to mean he's going to be very vulnerable.
Okay, Bin going in with the ulti here on the Jax. Killer Instinct from Elk brings him into the fight now too with public execution defensively from Boal. Just trying to get away and buy a little bit more time, but Counter-Strike #2 locks it up and knocks him down. Bin gets his first kill of the game.
BLG finding advantages where they can. They got that flash in the mid lane, they get a kill on the bot side of the map, and they take away the gold advantage that Boal had built for himself. BLG very quickly now in the mid game, taking firm control as that gold lead only continues to grow.
Yeah, and I just really want to see, can they punish Morttheus before his flash is back up, right? You know, that is kind of what determines, you know, was that play from On worthwhile? Was it a bad play? Is, you know, can they actually punish, get a kill here? Because they're going to have that flash up on, they're going to have the flash up on Shadow, they have the ulti available for Knight. And that Varus with no flash, you get in on top of him, you land any CC, the Ziggs ult's going to land on your head, you are just going to be toast. You're so reliant on that flash to stay safe.
Individual gold leads everywhere except top lane now for BLG, and the largest one is now mid lane, or at least tied with support here for Knight on the Ziggs. 2 fully completed items with the Horizon Focus now done alongside that Luden's Companion. The burst from this champion is so extreme as Mireu forced to flash because of a mistake there in positioning the soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. He tried to do the WEQ, but he E'd too early before the Q actually went all the way out. So he did not extend the range of his dash, and as a result, he doesn't get past where that pillar was going to get placed. And does lose his flash, which is another big tool, not only defensively for the Azir, but of course, the offensive potential there is large, especially for a team that is so lacking in engage. And now it's just going to be an immediate Otacon start. No flash on either of your carries. This is great play from BLG, and he's going to stop his recall again.
Yeah, Mireu's not even going to be able to participate in the fight at all. It's going to take him so long to get back and heal and then try to teleport in as Knight is just trying to keep everybody on VKS away. The Otacon down to 3,000 HP. On playing defensive here with the Pop Blossom, just trying to create enough space. Thornbound Otacon secured. Boal dives into the BLG front line as they root up Bin, but they do not have the damage to try to kill him. The bouncing bomb barely missing out on Trymbi as Mireu's going to be the first to die. There's no way out for the Emperor. There's no way through for VKS. BLG take the Otacon.
VKS came so close to such a good team fight, but the pieces just didn't come together. Once the Azir ultimate missed, BLG sees that as an opportunity. They find a quick punish and they just take everything. Otacon gone, kill secured, blue buff taken. VKS is crumbling under the pressure of BLG.
And in the midst of that, they even took the bot tier 1. Now they take the mid tier 1. Now you look up, it's 4K plus Otacon pedals in the advantage here. And it's only 21 minutes in, plus they'll grab the dragon. BLG just getting everything.
At least for VKS, the pedal difference isn't massive because they were pulling most of those from the Rift.
They were doing a good job gardening.
Yes, they were doing a lot of gardening in the first 20 minutes of the game, so BLG mostly equalized in that count, but you're right on the money, Isaac. A 4,000 gold lead. They're up in the Dragons. They've got the feats as well. They're getting to the point where they can buy the extra empowered shoes as they're completing their second full items. Honestly, this game went from, okay, you've still got a chance if you find a good play for VKS to time to put your hands together and pray. Because right now, BLG are running the Rift.
And it is one of those heartbreaking moments, you know, for Mireu. Obviously, a little bit of nerves there. This guy, I've watched a lot of him. He has been incredible, you know, in the LTA South, in the CB LoL. By far the best player this year. So to see that little mechanical mistake, forcing him to use his flash to retreat, then meaning he doesn't have that flash for that big team fight, you never know what it could have looked like if he had it up.
Ooh, Mireu tries to go in, find a shuffle onto On. does not connect. On's response, Pop Blossom, also a swing and a miss. So 2 ultis, neither one finding any success up here. Just going to trade those away as BLG moves more men into the area in case VKS tries to find something else.
You can see that VKS is just really fishing for anything. If they can find any pick, any punish onto BLG, at least it'll give them something, a moment of reprieve. But no opportunity will be found. The pillar comes down.
Oh, nice pillar there from Shadow as Disamis tries to take Elk with him, but he just does not have the damage here on the Qiyana. 0, 1, and 2. Azael, you mentioned earlier about how Disamis just hasn't been able to find a lot of activity throughout the Rift in the first 20 minutes of this game, so he's not fed enough to get the burst in a situation like that matters.
Yeah, and just not really coordinated there with Morttheus. He did hit the ulti, but he didn't have his Q or his E up to actually pop the Blight stacks, unfortunately, on this stun target, so couldn't help to knock him down. And it's definitely looking rough now for VKS. You don't really have engage, you don't really have the ability to get picks. You're kind of depending on BLG, looking for an engage of their own, really not being able to execute on it, and then maybe you can somehow turn something around, but it's starting to feel like BLG just going to completely run away with this. This Ziggs is getting ridiculously strong at this point.
Yeah, I was just about to mention how Knight, we haven't been mentioning him a lot in this game, but you can see his impact has definitely been felt. The way he's been using his ultimate to assist in any of the side lane plays that have been happening, the fact that he was able to make Mireu's life so difficult in a side lane, and then in these team fights, he just dishes out so much damage. He is just one of the many threats that BLG have brought to the table here in this first game. Of course, still a best of 3. There'll be opportunities in the event that VKS falls short to potentially bounce back in game 2, but right now, this is BLG's game to lose as they set up around the Baron, spawning in about 10 seconds time.
Exactly, that's the name of the game. There's no dragon on the map for another 2 minutes, so there's nothing to distract them elsewhere. The Baron pit is where the next action is going down. Shadow steals away the enemy red buff. Disamis down to 1/3 HP. Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't hit him, but he has to flash over the wall because BLG is collapsing. They are forcing summoner spells. They are chunking health bars. They are setting up for the Baron, and they make their way over as Elk starts it up.
The poke alone is enough to dissuade VKS. We talked a little bit about these range opportunities on both sides, but now that the Ziggs is fully online, he is just melting anytime VKS try to approach. And again, we're seeing it here on assisting with that poke.
Disamis in the pit, he wants to go in for the steal, but he does not find it. He's immediately killed by the jump from the Trundle. On is about to die, and Mireu takes him out, but Boal cannot kill Elk. BLG are gonna get everybody here as Mireu and Morttheus cannot get away. Elk will not be found. It's a double kill for the Kaisa. It's black and white screens for everybody on VKS, and BLG get Baron plus a 5 for 1.
Yeah, BLG ace them, and they are pushing top lane immediately. Let's see how much damage they can get done. Trymbi's going to be up in a couple seconds, but they're going to get probably 2 inhibitors here for sure. We have been pushing mid lane. Knight is already going to crack this tower, and we'll just be the inhibitor tower, not the inhibitor.
Knight's damage on turrets with this Ziggs is just disgusting. Every auto attack is taking 1/6 of the HP, then you blow it up with the satchel, and VKS couldn't get anywhere close.
Yeah, I mean, this only is a small glimpse of the poke that BLG were able to dish out. Disamis had access to the Baron, but isn't able to win out on the smite fight. Once he's separated from his team, it just becomes chaos in the river. We jump back to live.
Oh, I think it might be a repeat of that performance here for Disamis as Shadow just beats him upside the head with the bat. It's another death for the Qiyana. 0, 3, and 2 now for Disamis as BLG are taking everything from the enemy jungle, starving them of any possible resource they might be able to have. They've still got their Red Bull Baron power play for another 90 seconds. And gentlemen, they're already at plus 6,600 gold on this one. This one's looking like the end of the game as Boal cannot do anything to try to protect the tier 3 here in the bottom lane. Bin split pushing in mid lane. Top lane inhibitor is already exposed. Remember, in the bottom lane inhibitor is first to fall. The 4-man squad on BLG continues pushing bottom as Trymbi's got to be careful. Shadow and a little bit of poke behind him takes Trymbi down below half HP immediately. Another bouncing bomb. Trymbi has to head back into the fountain as BLG's siege continues.
Yeah, Knight even throws in an ult there, tries to take out Trymbi. Trymbi was able to sidestep it, but Knight is 16, has a death cap, and Mireu's just getting chunked out.
And Ben is going to take care of the last tier 3 turret at the same time. That one's gone. Inhibitor about to follow here in mid. And now Ben, if he wants to, can just try to walk up to the top side, take out that third and final inhibitor, and lock VKS in their base for the rest of the game. Looks like BLG are putting a lot of pings up there towards that area. It's going to be Elk, actually, who steps up forward to start putting the damage into it. Trymbi, Boal, and Morttheus all trying to put themselves in a position to maybe stop this, but with Knight and Ben right there beside Elk, it's far easier said than done. BLG looking for Inhibitor 3. They will find it very, very easily. And now VKS stuck inside their base. Double super minions in every lane.
The base is just in complete tatters. It feels like just a few more moments is all BLG will need. The Baron is going to wear off, but they'll go back to base, spend what gold they have been able to accrue, and then look likely to end out this game. I really don't think they need the Dragon. They might just go and get it anyway. But yeah, I think VKS need to use this time to already be thinking about what they can do in game 2. I really think they need to pick up the pace a little bit more, playing this more slower, long-range composition where they need to have good setup around objective, really nice poke, good control during the laning phase. I think just doesn't fit into their style and what they found so much success with.
I completely agree, and I mean also going on red side and allowing both your soul laners to get counterpicked by the blue side team, to me is just like, that is kind of asking for it, right? Like, you know, when you are the heavy underdogs, you need to be able to be aggressive. You need to be able to get advantageous matchups, push the pace. Trymbi's in trouble.
Yeah, Trymbi with a killer instinct from Elk, threatening his life. Does stay alive for now, but the Mega Inferno Bomb will remedy that real fast. Mireu tries to finish the job, but the only thing finished is his time on Summoner's Rift. 50-second death timer here for the mid laner from VKS, as a 5v3 for BLG is looking like the end of this game. Shadow throws out the pillar, Chains of Corruption, Pop Blossom on 3. Ben gets the kill, Morttheus is already down. Disamis trying to fight back, but he can't even kill on. Boal stuck on the steps of the fountain, watching the last remnants of his base get destroyed. BLG bulldoze game 1.
The result is what we expected. The start was not, absolutely, as Boal was put in a pretty good position early, but BLG crushing it.
BLG, it might have been shaky, but they got it across the finish line. Analysts, what do we think?
I think it's not for it's not for the lack of trying. Honestly, on the side of VKS, but you can clearly see why BLG won.